The story of the son who discovered the value of returning. There are stories that seem ancient, but when we listen to them carefully, we discover they are really about us. Today I want to tell you one of those stories. It is the story of a young man who decided to leave home. Not because he was forced out, not because he was hated. He left because he believed that life was somewhere else. Maybe you have felt that way at some point, feeling that your life is somewhere far away, that you need to leave, that you need to experience the world on your own. This young man felt the same. One day he approached his father and said something very strong. "Father, give me the part of the inheritance that belongs to me." In other words, he was saying, I want my life now. I don't want to wait. The father listened. He did not argue. He did not shout. He did not punish him. He simply gave him what he asked for. Sometimes love also means letting go. The young man took everything he had and left for a distant place. A place full of noise, lights, people, parties, and promises. There he began to live exactly as he had imagined. He spent money. He met many people. He went out every night. For a while, everything seemed perfect. But there is something curious about life. When the money runs out, many people disappear, and that is exactly what happened. Little by little, his friends stopped calling. The parties ended. Doors began to close. And at that exact moment, something worse happened. A crisis. Work became scarce. Food began to disappear. And that young man, who once spent money without thinking, ended up working in something he had never imagined. Taking care of animals. He spent his days watching them eat. While he himself was hungry, he had reached the lowest point of his life. Now I want to ask you something. Pause for a moment. Have you ever felt that you reached a point like that? A moment when you thought, how did I end up here? If that has ever happened to you, you are not alone. That young man felt the same way. One day, sitting in silence, he began to think. He remembered his home. He remembered his father. He remembered the table where food was never missing. And for the first time in a long time, he said something very simple. I was wrong. Sometimes change begins exactly like that. Not with speeches, not with big promises, just with a simple truth. I was wrong, and I want to go back. So he made a decision to return home. But he did not plan to return as a son. He planned to return as a worker. In his mind, he kept repeating what he would say, Father, I was wrong. I don't deserve to return as your son, but let me work. As he walked toward his home, his heart was full of fear, because returning is also frightening. Fear that you won't be accepted, fear that people will judge you, fear that they will remind you of your mistakes. But what happened next was something he never expected. His father saw him from far away, and instead of waiting, he ran. He embraced him, and he covered him with kisses. The young man could barely finish what he wanted to say. The father simply said, let's celebrate. Because what mattered was not what he had done. What mattered was that he had returned. Now I want you to think about something. All of us, at some point in our lives, walk away from something important. We walk away from ourselves, from our peace, from our dreams. Sometimes we even walk away from the people who love us the most. But this story reminds us of something very powerful. There is always a way back. Always. No matter how much time has passed, no matter how many mistakes were made, returning is always possible. Now I want to invite you to do something with me. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, is there something in my life I need to return to? Maybe returning to believing in yourself, maybe returning to a dream you once abandoned, maybe returning to speak with someone you love. Sometimes life does not ask us to be perfect. It only asks us to take the first step back. And if this story made you think about something important, I invite you to write it in the comments. I would truly love to read it. The stories we share here help many people who are going through difficult moments. And if you enjoy this kind of story, don't forget something very important. Subscribe to the channel, because every day we share stories that can change the way we see life, stories to reflect on, stories to heal, stories that remind us there is always hope. So if you haven't done it yet, subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming stories. And remember this before you leave. Sometimes we think we have lost everything, but many times The only thing we really need is the courage to return. See you in the next story, and may your life be filled with light.